Hello, everyone. Bonjour. Just going to leave a few moments for people to join and get their audio connected. Merci d'être ici aujourd'hui. Seeing some familiar names, which is great.
Thank you so much for everyone that's joining. This is our last B.Éd session specifically for you folks. So thank you so much for having joined. This is your time to ask questions. My name is Anna. I'm one of the student recruitment officers. I'll just be monitoring the chat. So just letting you know in advance, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box and we'll be more than happy to answer them after Vanessa has presented a little bit. And we also have some special guests with us today as well that will be talking on the behalf of the B.Éd and the Explore program. So there's really lots of great information that will be shared here today.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Anna. So I guess we'll kick this off, and if anyone joins in, Anna or Amanda, you can let them into the session. So hello, everyone. My name is Vanessa Paquette. I am the Welcome Center Coordinator here at Glendon. So my job is to kind of guide people who are interested in applying to Glendon. Anything from how do I submit my application to what are the admission requirements to, where do I send my documents, all that kind of stuff. Any questions related to admissions, I am the person behind our liaison inbox, which is also where you can reach me. But I am also Glendon's B.Éd specialist. So I'm here today to talk to you a bit about your options moving forward. I'm really happy that you're here with me today. As Anna mentioned, this was the final of 3 webinars. So we've been able to speak to quite a few students so far, and it's amazing. Je vais livrer ma présentation primordialement en anglais parce qu'il y a certaines personnes qui ont fait demande à notre B.Éd sous l'option anglaise. Alors, pour accommoder le plus de gens possible, je vais parler en anglais. Mais si vous avez des questions en français, sentez-vous bien à l'aise de les poser à haute voix à la fin de la session, ou vous pouvez les mettre dans le chat également. So I was just saying that I will deliver this presentation mostly in English, just to accommodate the maximum amount of people possible. So as I was saying, we want to help you better understand what your next steps are and what your options are moving forward. And as Anna said, please ask your questions, okay? No question too big, no question too small. We want to help, okay? So if you're in the audience today, you likely fall in one of these 2 buckets. So you might not have an offer to a concurrent B.Éd program at all. Okay, some of you might have applied to Glendon's concurrent B.Éd, which is that B.Éd with FSL concentration. In UAC, that's that famous code YGJ that you probably have heard me talk about many times if you have attended any previous presentations with me. And through that YGJ option, you're doing your undergraduate degree at Glendon, followed by the FSL concentration B.Éd at Glendon as well. Some of you might have applied to the English option concurrent B.Éd, which is code YYI in UAC. And that program also has you completing your undergraduate degree at Glendon, but then you would segue into the English B.Éd program at the Kiel campus. You might have applied to both of these programs. We see a lot of applicants apply to both. So that might be you. You might have only applied to the FSL B.Éd. So again, that code YGJ, but maybe you didn't get into that B.Éd and you were issued an alternate offer to the English B.Éd that I was just speaking of. So if you were part of that second group in that second bucket, you would have received communication from the Faculty of Education regarding the switch in your offers. So instead of being admitted to the FSL B.Éd, you were admitted to that English B.Éd. Okay, and that concurrent B.Éd option would have you completing your undergrad degree at Glendon, followed by the English B.Éd at the Kiel campus, okay? Regardless of which bucket in which you fall. I'm here to let you know that you have options, and I'm I want to help you understand your options and steps that you can follow moving forward to get you to the destination that you eventually want to get to. Okay, so just the topics that I'll be covering today, again, your options. I'll give you some useful tips that you can put into practice during your undergrad degree to help you achieve the goal that you want to achieve. We'll also talk a little bit about some financial incentives that we've put in place for our B.Éd applicants this year. And then near the end of the session, we'll move to a student panel and Q&A with me and other members of the team. So we have a few student members here with us today, some present and some past students who will talk to you about their experience at Glendon. Okay, so this is a quote from Winston Churchill. If you've attended one of my presentations previously, it's not new to you. I use this quote quite a bit, but I feel like it conveys such an important message, especially within the context of this presentation. Okay, so success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Okay, so the message that I'm hoping to convey, or the spirit in which I'm delivering today's presentation is to show you that there are many paths that can lead to the same destination. Okay, sometimes plan A doesn't work out, you have to move to plan B. Maybe plan B doesn't work out either, you move to plan C. Maybe you also need to plan, tweak plan C and, create C.1. It doesn't mean that you can't arrive at the same goal, okay? Your path is your path. Don't compare it to anybody else's. The journey that you're on is yours, and you have the power to make things happen, right? So it just might take a little bit of creativity to get to the goal that you're trying to get to, but it doesn't mean that, if you were refused from the concurrent B.Éd, that this is the end of the road for you. It really isn't, okay? And we'll go over your options during this presentation. So just to put things into context, okay, only about 25 to 30% of our Glendon B.Éd applicants get an offer. Okay, so this is not the majority by any means. You are probably aware that our Glendon FSL B.Éd especially is a niche program. We only have about 50 spots available in the concurrent program in that direct entry model that you applied to as a grade 12 student. Okay, so you might not have gotten in this time, but that's okay. It's not the end of the road. Okay, there's a second point of entry to our B.Éd program. Okay, so you can still come to Glendon, do your undergraduate degree, and then you can apply to the B.Éd in the final year of your undergrad program at Glendon. So that would be in year 3 or year 4, depending on the option that you eventually want to pursue when you move on to the B.Éd. So the level at which you want to teach. Okay, so that means there's still a chance for you to get into the program that you wanted to get into. Maybe you applied to that YGJ B.Éd, you didn't get in. Maybe you got an alternate offer to YYI, maybe you didn't. Maybe you only applied to YYI and you didn't get into that. Regardless, okay, you'll be able to apply through that consecutive model in the final year of your undergrad at Glendon, okay? So again, not the end of the road. So if you look here, I've shown similar diagrams to this one in previous presentations. So this might not be new information to you if you've come to any of the webinars that I've given this year, but I'll share it again because it's really relevant here as well. So the top row shows the pathway that a concurrent B.Éd student or a direct entry student would follow. And directly under it, you see the pathway that an upper year student would follow. Okay, so that's the upper year, that consecutive model that I was talking about. If you look at the pathways, they're both almost identical. Okay, the only difference between the two pathways is that the students who are admitted into that direct entry or concurrent model will take an education course in the first year of their undergrad. Okay, from there, the journey is exactly the same. So you spend years 1 to 3 or 4, again, depending on what you're intending to pursue when you get to the B.Éd. You spend those first 3 or 4 years studying in your major or your undergraduate program, then you move on to the B.Éd. If you look, the red star that I've indicated on the on the diagrams kind of shows a point of entry, right? So you would just enter into the B.Ed at a later point than someone who is in the concurrent program. Okay, most of you will probably be French studies majors, especially if you applied to that YGJ program. It's perfectly fine for you to come to Glendon. In fact, I would encourage you to come to Glendon to pursue that French studies degree, or if you're doing a degree in a different area, definitely come, and you can apply to the you can apply through the consecutive model. Now, one thing that I will say is that Glendon's FSL B.Ed program, okay, is reserved for Glendon graduates only. Okay, so that means that if you don't do your undergraduate degree at Glendon, you're not eligible to apply to that FSL option. So if that is not the strongest argument out there to come to Glendon for your undergrad, I don't know what is. You can also apply to the consecutive B.Ed at the Kiel campus as a Glendon graduate. And FSL is an accepted teachable subject for those of you who are intending to pursue the junior intermediate option. So that's that grade 4 to grade 10 age bracket, or the intermediate senior option, which is grade 7 to grade 12. Okay, so those are still, you know, that FSL option exists within both programs. So again, you know, come to Glendon, you could apply to both programs through the consecutive model. If you don't get into one, maybe you'll get into the other, maybe you'll get into both and have the luxury of choice, okay? So definitely come to Glendon, do that undergraduate degree, and we'll help you get to, we'll help you get to that goal, right? Glendon is a very, very small campus, a very small, tight-knit community, okay? So you have access to a ton of resources, supports, opportunities that'll make getting into the consecutive B.Ed a lot easier, okay? And ultimately, that'll make you a better teacher, right? To have had that personalized approach throughout your undergraduate degree, okay? So some tips to succeed, here they are. I've kind of separated them into two categories here under the, you know, larger bubble of stay informed. Okay, so we'll start with the two golden colored bubbles, which are more tied into the relationship that you should have with the Faculty of Education while you are an undergraduate student at Glendon. Okay, keep in touch with them. They hold information sessions yearly. Typically, they're usually in the winter, I would say January or February. Attend those sessions. They have a session at the Kiel campus, but they usually hold one for Glendon students as well. So attend and make sure that your information and that your knowledge is up to date. Okay, and I've also included the email address for them, which is osp@edu.yorq.ca. Again, if you have any questions related to, you know, requirements for eventually getting into the B.Ed, you can feel free to reach out to them. They've got a great team there that that is more than willing to help Glendon students, right? Even though the Faculty of Education is located at the Kiel campus, you know, we still have that Glendon FSL B.Ed, so they're used to dealing with Glendon students and they're more than happy to help, okay? Then we've got the blue bubbles that are more in the center, which are more Glendon specific, okay? So again, these are things that you should be focusing on and actions that you should be taking while you have all of these services that are within easy reach, okay, during your undergraduate degree. So my first tip is to talk to your profs, okay, about your eventual desire to become a teacher. You'd be really surprised. Some of them might be able to point you to opportunities that could help you on your path to eventually applying to the consecutive B.Ed. Okay, they'll also get to know you really, really well during your undergraduate studies. I don't know how much you all know about Glendon, but we're an extremely tight-knit group, right? As I said, there's only about 2,500 students at Glendon, so your class sizes are going to be really small, you know, 24 to 26 students on average. So your prof will know you. You'll be able to approach your prof, get some personalized help. You don't necessarily have to go through a TA to get to your prof, right? So you've got that direct line of access to the support that you need. And remember as well that when you go to apply to the consecutive B.Ed, similar to when you apply to the concurrent B.Ed, you need to have some references. What better person to ask for a reference than a prof that you may have studied under for 2, 3, 4 years, right? Maybe you took several courses with them, and they can give you a personalized letter instead of that generic, you know, I recommend John for the B.Ed. Well, they'll actually have some arguments as to why they would recommend John for the B.Ed. They can speak to your language ability, your presentation style, your personality, all that kind of stuff. So all of those types of personal touches will definitely help down the line when you apply to the consecutive B.Ed. My second tip, connect with the Glendon FSL faculty coordinator. Okay, she is a prof. Her name is Muriel Pégura. So she's a French prof, but she's also a prof within the B.Ed. Okay, she's on maternity leave right now, but she'll be back in time for September when you're all slated to start. Please believe me when I say that she is wonderful. Okay, we have students who will literally go and knock on her door. She's happy to talk to anyone who's interested in, especially that FSL B.Ed, but of course she's there to help those who might be interested in the English option as well. Go and talk to her. She will give you some tips. She can help you with your supplementary application. She can help make sure you're meeting the requirements to be able to apply to that consecutive B.Ed. Okay, talk to her. And finally, and this is probably, I would argue, the most important thing, is to be open with your academic advisor about your desire to apply to the consecutive B.Ed. Okay, your academic advisor is there to help you, to advise you regarding your academics, right? So if they don't know about your academic goals, they can't help you achieve them. So definitely tell them that, you know, maybe you didn't get into the concurrent B.Ed, or you got into a different concurrent B.Ed than the one that you wanted to get into, and you are interested in potentially applying through the consecutive model. They'll be able to help you. If they can't help you, they will point you to someone who can help you, right? They're kind of that gateway. They'll point you to the Faculty of Education if they can't answer your question, or they'll send you to see Muriel to ask your questions, okay? So definitely be very, very candid with your academic advisor, and if your goals change, definitely let them know, okay? They'll be able to guide you throughout your journey. My next tip, and this is especially aimed at those who are interested in applying to the consecutive FSL B.Ed, améliorer votre français. Okay, this is for those people who applied to that YGJ concurrent program and didn't get in. These are some specific tips for you. Okay, it might apply less to you. Certain aspects will still apply to you within the context of, you know, applying to the consecutive English B.Ed at Kiel. But, you know, the French requirements are really, really specific to that, to those who want to do FSL. Okay. So again, just when we're talking FSL, remember that we're talking about people who are going to be teaching within French immersion, core French, extended French. Okay, so you're teaching within those Anglophone school boards in Ontario that offer one of those French as a second language programs. So you need to make sure that you are in the right major. Okay. Again, and I'm saying it again because it's super, super, super important to remember, come to Glendon if you want that FSL program. You cannot apply to the consecutive FSL B.Ed if you didn't do your undergrad at Glendon. Okay, I'm saying it again and again and again. It's really, really, really important to come to Glendon if that's the path that you want to pursue. Okay, if you do your undergraduate degree at a different university or even at the Kiel campus, you're not eligible for that FSL B.Ed. Okay, so come to Glendon to do that. And make sure that you are in the right major. Okay, so as I've mentioned previously, most of you are going to be French studies majors, especially if, you know, that FSL B.Ed is what interests you, or you might even be a French major and, you know, intending to apply to that English B.Ed, because as I said, FSL is an accepted teachable for the junior intermediate and the intermediate senior divisions. Okay, but within the context of the FSL B.Ed, you have to make sure that you are majoring in French studies if you intend to teach JI or IS, and it's also the recommended major for those who are doing PJ. So PJ is the little guys, so kindergarten up until grade 6. Okay, and regardless of the option here, you have to remember you're going to be teaching within an FSL context. You need to be able to speak French. Okay, so it's to your advantage to really hone in on that French studies degree while you're at Glendon. Okay, you also have to make sure that you're meeting the Francophone culture credit requirement. Okay, so there's two ways that you can achieve this, or you can do it by combining the two ways. So you need to make sure that you're taking 12 credits of Francophone culture credits. Okay, so that's the equivalent of 2 full year courses. And when I say a full year course, I mean an academic year. So from September until April. Okay, so you can take a combination of 3 credit courses and 6 credit courses so that they total 12. Or you can go on exchange within a Francophone context. If you go on a 1-year exchange, it will kind of count toward your culture credit requirements. If you do an exchange that is less than a year, then you'll kind of receive a prorated amount of credits, and then you'll just make up the difference by taking culture credit courses, okay? So again, something that you can discuss with your academic advisor, but you need to make sure that you're meeting those requirements, especially if your major is not French studies. Someone who is within French studies will meet these Francophone culture credit requirements quite easily because you're taking those programs, those courses rather, as part of your major. But if maybe you're a primary junior candidate and you've decided you don't want to major in French studies, maybe you're only doing a minor in French studies. So again, highly recommend that major in French studies. You need to make sure that you're taking those Francophone culture credit requirements because you can't apply, you're not eligible to get into the FSL B.Ed if you don't have those credits, okay? And I'm going to show you a little tip here. So I'm introducing you to a tool that you are going to be using constantly over the next 4 years. Okay, I don't care what faculty or what program you're studying in, whether you're a French studies student at Glendon or you're an engineering student at Lassonde, everybody needs to be referring to York's academic calendar. Okay, so I've included the link to the calendar in step 1, but you can also just Google York academic calendar and it's the first thing that pops up. Okay, and this is where you find all the information about your programs. Okay, the degree requirements, any mandatory credits that you need to take in order to meet those degree requirements, the number of credits you have to take, if there's any restrictions around those credits, all the information is there. Okay, your academic advisor is definitely going to talk to you about this during your advising appointment, but I'm kind of giving you a sneak peek, okay? It's a leg up, and this is something that I would definitely recommend that you check out. You're going to use it to make sure that you're meeting the requirements of your undergraduate program, so whether that be French studies or something else, but you should also be using it to check on the requirements for your eventual application to the consecutive B.Ed, okay? So you'll see that there are degree requirements, right, for concurrent and consecutive students, and it'll be broken down there and it'll tell you exactly what you need to do, okay? So you should really be looking ahead. Yes, concentrate on your undergraduate program, but also look ahead to make sure that you're not taking something because you weren't aware, okay? So in order to see the requirements for the B.Ed, so what you'll do is you'll search for, the education program, and then you'll click on the degree requirements and the faculty-wide degree requirements, and then you'll see the requirements pop up for the concurrent and the consecutive programs. Okay, and you'll scroll kind of a good way down and you'll find a section with the Glendon FSL B.Ed and the culture credits, okay? And there's a document that is linked there where you find a list of the approved courses, okay? Make sure that you're consulting the list fairly often because sometimes requirements and accepted courses can change. So you don't want to be registering in something that might have been accepted previously and isn't accepted anymore. Or maybe they're adding additional courses that you can take, maybe courses that are more interesting to you, right? And they're continuously updating the list, right? So make sure that you're updating your knowledge as well, okay? Another tip for bettering your French, get involved in the bilingual community at Glendon. So if you come to do your undergrad degree here, like I said, a bunch of times already during this presentation, you'll have access to a ton of opportunities and a ton of resources, not just, services to help you succeed during your undergraduate degree, but also services that will help you improve your French alongside your French studies degree. Okay, so some examples: you can attend le salon francophone. Okay, and this salon francophone is literally a salon or a room that is filled with chairs and comfy couches, and it's staffed by francophone students, so students who are native French speakers, and you can simply pop in to do fun stuff with them, play a board game in French, maybe listen to some music in French, watch a French movie, or just have random conversation about whatever topic interests you in French. It's a very unintimidating way to better your French with someone who's your age and someone who can indirectly help you with your conversational skills. You can also, join the school newspaper. So Protem is the name of the Glendon newspaper. They publish articles in English, but also in French. So great way to practice your writing skills. And in terms of oral communication skills and honing those, you can consider, maybe joining Radio Glendon or the Lionheart Productions, right, which is better known as Theatre Glendon. You can participate in the activities that they put on to better your French as well. Another opportunity is to attend the Explore programming. Okay, so our Explore coordinator is here today. She can tell us a little bit about some of the opportunities that you can partake in, not really even as a Glendon student. These opportunities are open to the community, but they can definitely help you in your journey at Glendon. So Katie Ablett is the Glendon Explore coordinator, and she can give us a little bit more information about that.
Yeah, so a really good opportunity for you to improve your French is to participate in the Explore program. So the Explore program is a federal government bursary program where students from across the country get to learn their second language for free for 5 weeks. Normally it would be in person, but this year, obviously, we're in a virtual world. But all that to say that there's, about 30 institutions that run the program across the country, and Glendon is one of those programs. So you could attend our program if you like.
Yeah, definitely. Great way to get involved and to, do something close to home. And if you decide to go somewhere else to attend the Explore programming, what a great way to get away and better your French, right? It's
and meet people.
A fun opportunity. Exactly. And meet like-minded people, right? People who are all there for the same reason.
And the point of the program is to live the experience and to live the language and to experience, activities and whatnot in your second language. So it's really a great way to improve.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Katie. And my another tip that I have to better your French is to get involved in Toronto's Francophone community. Okay, so remember, by coming to Glendon, you're not only, living that small university experience, okay, you have to remember that you're part of one of the largest universities in Canada, okay? And you're also in the biggest city in Canada, which is hugely diverse. So there are a lot of opportunities to get involved in French within the city that you might not even be aware of, even if you're from Toronto, right? So you could take a look at the programming offered by Le Centre Francophone de Toronto or l'Alliance Française. There's also programming offered during La Semaine de la Francophonie, so attend the events. And, by again, attending events where you're going to be with other Francophones, you'll be able to benefit from being with like-minded individuals, right? Who can help you better your French. And these opportunities as well, depending on what angle you take it from, if you're volunteering for these opportunities, the experience that you gain might actually be really relevant within the context of your eventual application to the consecutive program, okay? Which brings me to my final point, is to continue to gain teaching experience while you're doing your undergraduate studies. So when you applied to the Concurrent BEd, you had to submit that supplementary application where you talked about your experience. You had to give your experience summary and your experience profile, but you also had to give a personal statement, right? So all of that is wonderful. The things that you did in high school are part of your journey, and it's great that you were involved in whatever you were involved in. But it's important that you continue to gain that teaching experience while you're an undergraduate student at Glendon if you're intending to apply to a consecutive program. And even those who are in a concurrent program, it's definitely to their advantage to continue to hone those teaching skills while they are studying at Glendon. We see many concurrent students take advantage of these opportunities as well, because it's so important to continue to put yourself out there and to grow as a teacher. Okay, so my first tip is to get into the classrooms. If you're aiming for that FSL BEd, try and get in within a Francophone or an FSL context. If you're intending to apply to the consecutive program at the Kiel campus, try and get involved in opportunities that are related to what you eventually want to teach, right? In terms of subject, but not only in terms of subject, also in terms of age group, right? So if you are interested in pursuing the primary junior, for example, it would be great if you could work with kids, whereas if you're interested in intermediate senior, it would be better if you could continue to gain experience teaching, teenagers. So approach a school teacher, let them know that you're intending to apply to a consecutive program. They might love to have a classroom volunteer for the year. If you can volunteer specifically in a French school, even better, or an FSL school, even better. Some of our students even volunteer at the Toronto French School, which is literally across the street from Glendon. So talk about convenience. It's literally not even a 5-minute walk to the Toronto French School from the Glendon campus. So you could very, very easily, maybe go and volunteer over your lunch hour, or maybe in an after school program or something, but it's a great way for you to get your foot in the door with a French school. Okay, you could tutor or become a peer mentor. Okay, so you'll all experience this doing your undergraduate degree at Glendon, but during your first year, you'll be assigned a peer mentor who's an upper year student. So someone who is not in their first year, someone who has already completed their first year. And they're there to help you kind of navigate your first year. So things like how can you find your classes? How can you get involved? How can you join a club? Who do you talk to about your major, your minor? I've got questions about my financial statement. Who do I talk to? How do I rent a locker on campus? Like, all of these types of things are things that your peer mentor will be able to help you with during your first year. Maybe you'll have such a good experience that you'll want to pay it forward when you get into your second, third, and fourth year. Maybe you'll become a peer mentor yourself, and that is teaching experience, right? And especially if you're interested in that intermediate senior division, right? You're working with young adults, so it's relevant within the context of an application to that intermediate senior division. Okay, another club in which many of our education students become involved is Piece by Piece. Julia, who is one of our guest speakers today, is a member of Piece by Piece, so I'll leave it to her to kind of speak about it, but just to give you a very general overview is that you can tutor or teach young children, school-age children, about how to deal with issues surrounding the topics of bullying and that sort of thing in English and in French. So it can work within the context of an application to the consecutive FSL BEd or the consecutive English BEd. You can also check out Volunteer Toronto, which is a really cool website where you can find a whole bunch of different types of volunteer experiences that are directly or indirectly related to teaching. What's really cool about it is you can also sort by language. So if you're looking specifically for French opportunities, that's a great place to start. You could also get involved in doing something you love. You know, maybe you love to swim, or you love dance or art or music or acting or soccer or baseball or hockey or whatever it might be. This is all related to teaching, right? Coaching and mentoring young people. It's all related to teaching. It's centered around diversity. It's extremely relevant within the context of an application to the B.Ed, and it's a great way to stay active too and pursue things that you love. Another thing that you consider doing, so we talked about, you know, within the context of bettering your French, maybe attending Explore as a participant. Well, what if we flip that on its head and we had you teaching at Explore? What a better way to, you know, get experience teaching French than by being an Explore monitor. So again, I'll let Katie speak to that a little bit, but there's an opportunity that can fit anyone depending on the age group that they want to teach.
Yeah, so as Vanessa said, we hire Glendon students to be language monitors at our Explore programs, and 2 of them are here right now. But just to give you a sense, we have adult programming in the spring session that we're currently running. In the summer, we do programs for 13 to 15-year-olds and 16 to 17-year-olds. So there are some opportunities there if you're still interested and looking for some teaching experience and some work this summer to apply to be a language monitor at our programs this summer. We offer ESL, FSL, and French first language. So lots of opportunities. And I can say that a lot of our monitors do go on to become teachers at our program. So.
And even some of the teachers will come back and teach during the summer, right? So it's kind of that lifelong journey, right? You start at Glendon, you come to Glendon, you keep coming back to Glendon, right? It's very common, and it kind of speaks to how wonderful Glendon is. Katie has very kindly extended the application deadline for monitors for Explore. So right now the deadline to apply is this coming Friday, the 21st, if I'm not mistaken. I'm doing the math correctly. So definitely apply if you're interested, of course. Katie or Amanda, if you could pop the link down in the chat where you can find the information.
Anna put the link there, yeah.
Amazing.
And just to say that we try our best to hire Glendon students. They're our priority because you know Glendon the most and you can be the best ambassadors for the program.
Definitely. So yet another reason to come to Glendon. It truly is as wonderful of a place as we make it out to be. I studied at Glendon. I love Glendon. Katie studied at Glendon. You know, we've got students here who studied at Glendon. It truly is a great place. We're not just saying this because we work for Glendon. We actually loved Glendon so much that, you know, we came back again, right? We're lifers in that sense, I guess you could say. Okay. So I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation that we've put in place some financial incentives for our B.Ed applicants this year. So we're talking about people who have applied to a B.Ed program and were either refused or didn't get into the program to which they originally applied. So if you accept your undergraduate offer, so that offer to your BA, or maybe you apply to a BSc program. So, you know, I'm talking, you know, French studies, political science, international studies, your undergraduate program. Okay, if you accept that offer by May 26th, we'll put your name in for these financial incentives, and they'll be in the $1,000 to $2,000 range. So again, just another reason to accept your offer without delay, and make sure that you're keeping an eye on your inbox for emails from our team about this. At glendon.yourq.ca as a safe sender. I recommend that you add at yourq.ca and at edu.yourq.ca as safe senders in your inbox, just to make sure that you're not missing anything from us. We often send out communications, and, you know, unfortunately, sometimes things land in junk. So those are a couple of tips to help mitigate that, the risk of things not being seen. Okay, So again, stay in touch, okay? I've put my email address here. So again, I'm the Welcome Center coordinator. You can reach me at liaison@glendon.yorku.ca. Like I said, I primarily manage that inbox. So if you address something directly to me, if another team member does happen to see it, they'll usually leave it for me. So you can reach me very, very easily that way. If you need to get in touch with the Faculty of Education, again, it's osp.edu.yorku.ca. They're also there to help. And yeah, I mean, you can also book a one-on-one with me on Zoom. So if you have any questions, maybe about stuff that I've presented in this presentation, or you want some feedback about your B.Ed application that you submitted this year, you can definitely feel free to book a 15-minute conversation with me on Zoom. Anna, if you can pop the link to my Calendly calendar,
yep,
please.
done.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So please don't be shy. Like I said, no question too big, no question too small or too silly. I want you to ask your questions, okay? So maybe what I'll do before we kind of move into the Q&A is that I'll open up the floor here to our guest speakers. So I'll stop sharing my screen. So we've got 3 guest speakers with us here today, 2 of which are current Glendon students. So Amanda Merheb and Julia Huang are current Glendon students. And we also have Jasmine Rice, who is a previous Glendon student who went on to apply to the consecutive FSL B.Ed, got in, thrived, and is barely graduated and is already teaching. So she's a great example of where you want to that goal that a lot of you are trying to eventually achieve. So maybe we'll do the current students first, and you can talk about your reasons why you came to Glendon, maybe your story, how you applied to Glendon, what happened, why you still decided to come to Glendon, and how you're pursuing your desire to become a teacher. So why don't we go in alphabetical order? We'll get Amanda to kick us off.
Thank you, Vanessa. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda. I'm currently a Glendon student, like mentioned Vanessa. And in fact, when I was applying for university, I applied to the Glendon B.Ed program. And unfortunately, I got rejected as well, because I think all of you were here for somewhat the same reason. But the reason I still chose to come to Glendon, I think, well, definitely for the French aspect of things, I knew that just having that bilingual aspect will help in the long term, regardless of what I decided to do. But I've always been passionate about education, about becoming a teacher, or like helping others get informed about things. So definitely coming to Glendon and still having that option in the mix was definitely important for me. So I got to Glendon, and obviously you need to do specific steps. You like everything mentioned by Vanessa today of how you should get in, invested in things, join clubs, join mentor, anything that you like is everything. I'm being completely honest with you. That is the best way to do it. In my first year, I was working actually with Vanessa in recruitment center, which I got the pleasure of working with Vanessa, and I got so much experience. I got, not necessarily in my field, but I got experience. Helping people. I gave experience speaking practicing both my languages, French and English. And then this year, during my second year, thanks to Vanessa, I was able to work for Katie, which I'm working now. And I'm now working with the Explore program and just the continuing education department. And that's definitely a bit more working with students, creating workshops, delivering workshops, which is definitely something similar to teaching. You have content that you're providing for students. So I definitely think that if you are looking to do that, explore whether you're a participant, eventually becoming monitor, eventually becoming a teacher, it's very important, and to do anything that you can to kind of boost up your supplementing application in the future. So yeah, I think I covered all your questions Vanessa.
You definitely did, and then some. So like Amanda was saying, she worked with me in the recruitment office during her first year, and I found out that she wanted to become a teacher. And you know, we're such a small community that I reached out to Katie and I said, hey, you know, I've got this amazing student who, you know, is looking to build her portfolio. Do you have any opportunities for her? And lo and behold, she did, right? So I was happy to be able to open that door for Amanda. And, you know, working with Katie is absolutely amazing. You know, if you want the best boss ever working for Explore, definitely go to Katie. And again, completely unbiased here. No, she's truly amazing. And I think Amanda and Julia would both agree. So I'll open it up to you, Julia. Maybe you can talk a little bit about, you know, your journey to Glendon, why you came to Glendon, and what you're doing to, you know, build your teaching portfolio.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Julia. In my first year, I was a business student on the Kiel campus, and then I decided to switch into teaching and French studies. That's when I connected with the Glendon Career Center, and I realized that I wanted to come to Glendon because of the small classroom sizes and the language immersion experience. Though that's not the reason why I decided to stay at Glendon. The reason why I decided to stay was because of the clubs offered at Glendon. Vanessa mentioned Piece by Piece earlier. Piece by Piece is a club that deals with teaching students about what bullying is and how to resolve conflict with others. So that's experience that you can get while being in a classroom, even though that club is offered at other universities like on the Kiel campus or at U of T. Only at Glendon is where you can teach in a French classroom or English, whatever you're comfortable with. There's also Explore at Glendon. Love you, Katie. Also, there's student networking. And I find that really important because you get to be around students with similar goals and experiences. Everybody around you is interested in being a French teacher, is working towards that goal. So when you connect with them, you get to hear of other tutoring opportunities. And that's where I became a tutor. Yeah, so it's definitely good experience being around that. And also courses at Glendon. There are some courses in French studies that are tailored towards education and learning, like how students learn writing or speaking in French as a second language classrooms. And these are all really great ways for you to kind of push yourself to towards your goal into applying in the future. So.
Great, some really great feedback. And it just goes to show that, you know, Julia started out in a completely different pathway, didn't even know she wanted to become a teacher, was at, you know, the same university, but a different campus, and was able to make that change, right? And now she's pursuing a totally different path, and she had to tweak her plan A and turn it into a plan B and, you know, make modifications as she went. But it doesn't mean that because her original plan didn't work out that she can't get to somewhere completely amazing, right? So again, another success story, right? And it just shows that when a window closes, a door opens, or vice versa, right? And we're here to help open those windows or doors, whichever way you want to spin that argument. So finally, I'll open up the floor to Jasmine Rice. So Jasmine is a past Glendon student who is just finishing up her B.Éd. And if she could give us a little bit of information about, you know, her journey, what brought her to Glendon, and what she did along the way to get where she is now.
Yeah, so actually out of high school, I didn't apply to York or Glendon. Where I went right out of high school was the University of Ottawa for French studies. And I found myself ill prepared. I had taken French immersion and thought I was fluent, but in fact, I really wasn't, and was having a really hard time. So after first year, I moved back home to kind of reevaluate, and that's when I had heard of Glendon for the first time and applied. And I didn't get into the Concurrent Ed program, unfortunately, but I got a supplementary offer to French studies. So that's what I did. I did my undergrad at Glendon, and I really, really enjoyed the program. I found it much more accessible at first, and there were a lot more resources for people who, like me, who were maybe struggling with French at first. I made a lot of friends along the way. I spoke about in the previous meeting how most of the things I got involved with for my supplementary application, I had discovered through my peers, because most of my peers were actually in the concurrent program. It is a very small campus, so we had a lot of classes together. So I was referred to organizations like Canadian Parents for French, where I did a lot of volunteer work, and that was probably the biggest thing on my supplementary application that helped me get into the B.Éd program in my final year. So yeah, after my B.Éd, I had applied to Halton, and now I got hired right away, and I'm working now as a supply teacher for Halton District School Board, which is wild because I was just in practicum less than a month ago.
It just goes to show that, you know, that having that FSL teachable on your resume, regardless of whether you do the Glendon FSL B.Ed or if you do the FSL through the Kiel program, you know, having that on your resume is your ticket to a job. It's no secret that we are very, very short on French teachers in the province, especially within the context of Southern Ontario. So it's a great way to get your foot in the door very quickly after graduation and be able to pursue that teaching desire. And again, you know, Jasmine is another example of plan A not working out. You know, she went to the University of Ottawa, found it wasn't the right fit for her, tweaked her plan to plan B, came to Glendon, worked on expanding her teaching portfolio and got to where she wanted to be. And when I was preparing this webinar, I actually reached out to Muriel Péguret to see if she could recommend a student like Jasmine who had, you know, not gotten into that concurrent B.Ed program, but still ended up in the exact same place as someone who had applied to the concurrent program. And, you know, she was able to provide me Jasmine's name because we're such a small, tight-knit campus. And I can almost guarantee that Jasmine was probably knocking on Muriel Péguret's door as an undergraduate student, looking for tips, right, to get into that consecutive B.Ed. So again, we're here to support you. We want to help. We want to make sure that you are getting to where you want to get, even if, you know, you didn't get into that first option that you thought you might get into. So that kind of concludes my presentation. We've got a few minutes left here. If anybody has some questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I'm seeing here that Kayla put a question. So if I take the required courses, I can still be an FSL teacher even through French studies, even though French studies is not the major I'm in. So that depends, Kayla, on the level at which you want to teach. So within the context of Glendon's program, okay, you need to major in French studies for junior intermediate or intermediate senior. It's mandatory. You absolutely have to, okay? We make that choice for you. If you are intending to apply to or to continue in that intermediate senior division, you also need a second teachable, so you'll choose some studies in a second area. For that it doesn't mean that, you know, maybe you applied to psychology or you applied to political science. It doesn't mean that, you know, you're in the wrong program and, oh my goodness, this is the end of the world. You just need to talk to your academic advisor, right? So if you need to do, if you need to pursue a major in French studies because you fall into one of those two categories, right, for JI or IS, just talk to your advisor and say, hey, you know, I'm in political science right now. Can I maybe do a double major in political science and French studies? Or can I change my major from political science to French studies and maybe do a minor in political science instead? Again, that goes back to that, you know, being open and honest with your academic advisor to make sure that they can help you ensure that you're in the correct program. Okay. What are some experiences that are highly considered? I'm not sure I understand what you mean, Nathan. Do you mean experiences that would be looked upon with very favorably, I guess I could say? Sorry, it's a little bit loud here. Experiences that would be looked upon favorably by a selection committee? Okay, so anything that is related to teaching, right? And teaching in the age bracket that you're interested in teaching with, right? So things like working in a school or working at a summer camp or, you know, coaching, all of those types of things are looked at extremely favorably. If you can work within the context of diversity, maybe working with different age groups or different socioeconomic classes or backgrounds, right? All of those types of things are things that you should be looking for. I hope that answers the question. Viola says, if I ended up accepting YYI, could I still apply for YGJ in the future, or is that not possible? Absolutely, you can apply, and you should apply. So if you are one of those students who got the alternate offer to the English B.Ed at the Kiel campus, and you didn't get that offer to the Glendon FSL B.Ed, you can absolutely apply to the Glendon FSL B.Ed in the final year of your undergrad at Glendon. The difference is that, you know, you've got an excellent backup option. So if you don't get into that FSL B.Ed, you can still go to Kiel and do the FSL teachable for JI and IS. Okay, so absolutely, if that FSL B.Ed is what your heart really wants, I totally encourage you to apply in your final year. And if you don't get in, you can still go to Kiel. And if you do get in, then you switch from Kiel to Glendon. Okay, how do I contact my advisor? So you'll be, once you accept your undergraduate offer, you will book your enrollment appointment in My File. Okay, there's a tab on the left-hand side that says book manage my enrollment appointment. Okay, so that's the first step. You accept your undergraduate offer in UAC, then you pop into My File and you book that enrollment appointment. Okay, from there you should get some communication from the advisors. But if you do need to get in touch with an advisor prior to your enrollment appointment, I'll put the email address in the chat. So it's dearadvisor@glendon.yorku.ca for all incoming first year students. Okay, Miriam, did you have a question? Okay. Let's see here. My question is, what is the difference between concurrent and consecutive? I still don't understand. I know I received an alternate offer and you explained it all, but I'm still a little confused. I apologize. First of all, don't apologize. It's confusing. Okay, so as I said, the pathways that a concurrent B.Ed student and a consecutive B.Ed student will follow are very similar. The difference is that someone who is admitted to a concurrent B.Ed has their place reserved for them in the B.Ed program once they finish their undergraduate degree. A student who was not admitted to a concurrent program has to apply for a spot in the B.Ed, and they do that through the consecutive model. Okay, so they apply in the final year of their undergraduate degree. Okay, and you might be referring, when you say alternate offer, you might be referring to what you are seeing in UAC. So in UAC, when you apply to a concurrent program, you're effectively applying to two programs, right? You're applying to your undergrad program and you're applying to your B.Ed. So when you are admitted to the BA program or to the undergraduate program, it appears in UAC as an alternate offer. Okay, this is totally normal. It's just because it's one component of your application, which is dual, right? It's kind of a freebie. You get to apply to the BA and to the B.Ed in one fell swoop. Okay, so that alternate offer that you're seeing in UAC is totally normal, and you accept your undergrad offer in UAC. But if you were admitted to a concurrent B.Ed program, then you accept your B.Ed offer in my file. Okay, so you accept that alternate BA offer, UAC, concurrent offer if you were admitted in my file. Okay. Okay, thank you. And could I accept my offer and do it as FSL? You would accept your, are you talking, Miriam, about your BA offer, your French studies offer? You would be a French studies student, and our French studies program has two streams, one for non-native speakers and one for francophones, so people who have been speaking French their entire lives. It's their native tongue, and at one point the programs converge, right? The Anglophone stream and the Francophone stream. Once you get through the pre-major levels, you kind of merge in with the Francophone stream, but it's still this, your journey is still very much supported in the context of someone learning French as a second language or bettering their French. Kind of similar to Jasmine, right, who was in a program at the University of Ottawa where she didn't feel that she was being supported, right, that she didn't have the necessary supports to help her better her French. And then she came here and she was able really to study within a context that can help someone who is not a native speaker get better at speaking French, right? And remember that the FSL B.Ed is exactly that. It's a program for FSL speakers, right? It's not a program for native francophones. It's a program for people who have learned French as a second language and who want to go on and teach French as a second language at whatever level it is they desire. Okay. What? You're welcome, Miriam. I hope that helped. Okay. Sorry if you've already answered this, but are you able to do concurrent if you weren't accepted into the B.Ed program? No. So if you were not accepted into the concurrent program, that program is only open to people who are applying directly out of high school. Okay. So once you have university experience, you can no longer apply to our concurrent program, but you can apply to the consecutive program. Okay, and that would be in the final year of your undergrad at Glendon. Okay, hope that answers Dami. Are there any other questions at all? I'll give it another, if someone wants to unmute themselves and, you know, ask a question, they absolutely can. If you're more comfortable putting it in the chat, you can do that as well. Or if you're a little nervous, you know, you can always just email me as well at liaison. If we did not apply at all, our applications fully closed. Yes, the application deadline for the concurrent program was January 15th. Okay, so unfortunately it's too late, but again, even if you didn't apply to a concurrent program and you're thinking, okay, I want to become a teacher, you can apply through that consecutive model. Right? We have lots of students who come to Glendon, maybe not even knowing that they wanted to become a teacher, kind of like Julia, who went to Kiel, didn't know she wanted to become a teacher until she came to Glendon. At that point, unfortunately, because she already had that university experience, she wasn't eligible to transfer into the concurrent program, but it doesn't stop her from, you know, doing all the things that she needs to do to be able to apply to a consecutive B.Ed. Okay, I hope that answers, Dami. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions coming through. So, you know, again, if you're shy, feel free to email me at liaison@glendon.yorku.ca. Anna was kind enough to put the email address in the chat again. And you can also book a one-on-one with me on Zoom if that helps, if you want to have a conversation, if you have any questions about, you know, status of your application, what your next steps are, anything that I covered in this presentation, please feel free to reach out to me. Okay, thank you very, very much for being here. And again, I hope everyone enjoys the beautiful sunshine out there. Finally, it feels like summer. So thank you again. And thank you to our guest speakers for being here. I know Katie had to pop out, but Jasmine, Amanda, Julia, thank you for being here to speak about your experiences. And Anna, my trusty sidekick, thank you so much for moderating the chat and helping with the questions. Oh, Nathan asks here, will York Kiel have a Zoom session like this? You know what? I'm not sure. They do have information sessions, so I wouldn't be shocked to see them do an information session. For example, maybe if you applied to a concurrent program that involved doing your undergrad at the Kiel campus, I'd reach out to OSP at edu.yorku.ca. I'll put it down here to see if they're aware of anything, or reach out to the faculty that is offering your undergraduate program. Maybe they're offering an information session kind of similar to what I'm doing. Okay. All right. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Take care. Thanks, Kayla. Bye-bye.